This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
Entertaining and informative.
Oh, you're my best friend.
77 WABC.
When Syria falls and Assad runs to Putin and Russia, the first thing I say is, wow, that's great news. But then you hear people, including Bibi, say, well, slow down a second, because there is still some instability in the region that may not be great news. So you tell me, David Friedman, exactly what happened and what it means for Israel.
Well, look, I think maybe it's best to look at this in terms of winners and losers. So look, the losers here are the enemies of America and the enemies of Israel, Iran, Hezbollah, and Russia. Okay, they're clearly the losers. They were using Syria as a way station for to transport weapons into Lebanon to fight against Israel. The Iranians are the greatest state sponsors of terrorism anywhere in the world, and their most important asset was the control of Syria. So Iran is incredibly weak right now. Hezbollah is all but decapitated. Russia has shown that they can't protect their allies in Syria. So that's all good, right? When your enemies suffer and they become weaker, that's good.
It's my guy right there, former Trump ambassador to Israel. I love Mike Huckabee. Huckabee was on this show 2 weeks ago. Mike's going to do a terrific job, but I thought Friedman would have come back. He did nothing not to come back. I mean, he helped out with the Abraham Accords. But like Friedman said yesterday, the fact that he's Jewish may actually help Huckabee, because Huckabee's not. And sometimes they feel like Friedman may be a bit biased because he lives in Israel, he's got a home there, blah, blah, blah. Either way, he says any enemy of Israel that loses is a good thing for Israel and America. By the way, I just got a text from Tom Caniff, and we're hoping to put Daniel Penny on this show tomorrow. We'd be the first radio show to put him on around the country. My next guest is, I love this guy. I look up to him. As far as I'm concerned, we talk about the all-time greats. He's right there. We've had him on this station. We've got him every night, 6 to 9 p.m. here on WABC. He's got two magnificent weekend shows, Saturday and Sunday night on Fox News, which I watch, Life, Liberty, Levin. He is the great one for a reason, my dear friend Mark Levin. Mark, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Sid, it's been a while. I missed you.
I missed you.
How are you?
I'm great. I missed you, too. I'm so happy you're back. I really did miss you. All kidding aside. But I watch you. I listen to you on the radio. I watch you on TV. So I get my fill.
Sid. Get a life.
I know. No, I can't help it. These are such crazy times, and especially we went through the last year. But I want to get to what David Friedman talked about there, because you know Israel and the Middle East really about as well as anybody. Friedman, Huckabee, even Bibi. What are your thoughts on what happened with Syria? And do you agree with Friedman that, hey, listen, if it affects the enemies negatively, that's a good thing?
I agree with that, but I also agree that when Bibi said, and he's quite right, which is we got to see what's going to happen here. That country is not going to be filled with every form of terrorists imaginable. It's being backed by Turkey, which is an enemy, even though it's a member of NATO. That guy's no damn good. Erdogan is an Islamist terrorist who's backed Hamas, who's protecting the Hamas leadership now that the terrorist regime Qatar has thrown them out because they're worried about Trump. But I think really what's happening in the last 48 hours, Sid, is Israel is systematically destroying all military aspects of Syria. They have now destroyed their Navy. They've destroyed their Air Force, such as it was. They've destroyed their airfields. They are destroying their military installations. They're destroying their ammo installations. They're destroying, when they can find them, where they know all of their poisonous gas installations are. It is the most massive bombing raid that Israel has ever been involved in, hitting over 300 sites. So while everybody is discussing what comes next, Israel's saying, I'll tell you what doesn't come next, is that these terrorists are going to have a full-fledged military operation. That ain't going to happen. And I also now think, looking back, that one of the reasons Netanyahu agreed to a Hezbollah deal, which everybody was shaking their head, why is he doing that, is because he saw what was happening in Syria a couple of weeks back, and he had to move IDF. You know, they only have a military that is so large. They had to move forces to yet another front, from the Lebanon front, from the Gaza front, from the PLO front in Judea and Samaria, and now they're at the Golan Heights and the border with Syria and the buffer zone. So this guy Netanyahu is like a genius. He really is. I mean, the left wanted to take him out, but this man, if it wasn't for him, I don't know that Israel would be able to survive through these times, including with the Biden administration. But what they're doing now is systematically not degrading, destroying any aspect of Syria's military complex. It's amazing.
It is amazing. The number, I think, now is 8. Israel is now fighting on 8 fronts with, like you said, a relatively small, awesome, but relatively small army. And you talk about Bibi, and, I know you know him. I got the opportunity to meet him for the first time, Yom Kippur, and he was just such a pleasant, great man, but don't get on his bad side, folks. But nothing bothers me more, Mark, nothing bothers me more than to see Jewish people, my own brethren, these morons, who stand in Times Square in great numbers. I've been to Israel twice in the last 8 months who go to Tel Aviv in big numbers. Now, look, the hostage parents, they get the benefit of the doubt. I excuse them. Right? But any other Jew, any Jew that is critical of Bibi Netanyahu is a moron.
I'm with you 100%. Look, as much as Trump has done for the Jewish people in this country and for Israel, what did he get? 55% of the vote, 50% of the vote, something like that. We have to accept the fact, Jew and non-Jew, that these people are Democrats, they're ideological liberals, that they are pretend. Well, what am I trying to say here? They're mostly ethnic Jews, and you can be an ethnic Jew and kind of secular and still support Israel, but not these people. These people do have a religion. It's called the Democrat Party. Their own faith. But listen, not just above Israel, above the United States for that matter. And it's not just in Judaism. You see people go to Catholic Church and they go every weekend and they pray and then they vote for the most abhorrent pro-abortion, I mean extreme pro-abortion politicians you can imagine. So the Democrat Party is a spell over a lot of these people. But I've given up trying to figure it out. I'll be perfectly honest with you, Sid. They are, if you don't support Netanyahu after this, it's like the British people who didn't recognize how great Churchill was in the middle of World War II. If you don't recognize and don't accept reality, that's really your problem. As long as we defeat you at the ballot box, as long as our guys win, as long as our guys are doing what they need to do, screw these people. They don't matter.
Couldn't agree more. The great one, Mark Levin. Check him out tonight, 6 to 9. BB's won 4 of the last 5 elections. Trump's won 2 of the last 3. He'll tell you he's won 3 out of 3. But either way, we got both of those guys in power right now. I mean, this is, you mentioned Churchill, and I think we've had this conversation before, but you look at the history of America and Israel. And I'll make this point, and again, these people who don't like Bibi or Trump will spit in my face, but I believe right now with Trump about to take over again in America and Bibi in Israel, that's about the most powerful, potent 1-2 combination in the history of these two civilizations. How about that?
100%, and needed now more than ever. Even in our own country, this anti-Semitism, these jihadist movements. There's a big story today, Sid, in the Free Beacon, and the Students for Justice in Palestine. They have a big presence at George Mason University, right outside of Washington D.C., and they searched the home of the leadership there. They have weapons, they have ammunition, they have grenades. I read this, said, holy mackerel. And I guarantee you this is going on all over the country. This foreign money's coming in, the open borders, the passivity of the Biden administration enforcing our rules against terrorists and terrorist regimes and people connected to them and student visas and all the rest. I can tell you, as a matter of fact, that's going to change. Now, it may not be a perfect outcome, but they're going to look, the Trump administration, at all these student visas. They're going to look at these people who are marching. They're going to look at these funding sources. Honestly, what any responsible government should do but isn't doing. So I think it's going to be a new day, at least the beginning of a new day, with respect to Trump, too. And when it comes to Israel, look, Trump doesn't like these quote-unquote long wars. So his view is very simple. Give them what they need so they can win and be done with it. And by the way, I think that's Bibi's position, too.
He keeps saying to Bibi, right, let's just get the ultimate victory, which is good news. Don't stop before you get ultimate victory, but let's do it really fast. And I agree with Trump on that, as you do. You know, talking about Trump, he nominated all these fine people. I like everybody. You know, I know Gates dropped out, and there was some talk that Pete Hegseth would drop out. I watched you on your TV show this weekend, Mark, talking specifically about Hegseth, who was on with our mutual friend who will join me next week, Sean Hannity, last night. And Hegseth said, listen, this is a smear campaign. It's nothing new. They make up stuff. They exaggerate. I ain't going anywhere. That's all great, but the question remains, will Hegseth get through the Senate? What are your thoughts on the pick and if, in fact, he'll make it through?
Well, the problem is always not the Democrats. It's usually 3 to 7 or 8 Republicans who always give the Democrats what they want and they turn and run, which is why I spent time on radio and on that show Saturday focusing specifically on Joni Ernst and Lindsey Graham. You know, we treat Lindsey Graham like he's some kind of great guy.
Yeah.
Very friendly, very nice. He's on Fox endlessly. He sounds conservative. But, you know, he has his head up Saudi Arabia's butt like you can't believe.
Yeah.
He when it comes to Hegseth, I'm concerned about these anonymous reports. Excuse me, they're anonymous reports, Lindsay. And then Joni Ernst was actually leading a campaign against Hegseth. I'm going, what the hell's going on here? Yeah. This is all an attempt to try and hurt Trump, to chip away at Trump, him, and then Kash Patel, and it'll be another one and another one. I've seen this. You've seen this. This is how the Democrats cycle this stuff. So they want to use against Hegseth what they used against Clarence Thomas, what they used against Kavanaugh. And I said, you know, enough of that. I've been around too long for this. And honestly, the president called me yesterday about Saturday's show, and he loved Sunday's show.
Me too.
And was very thankful about that. And he said, I think we're going to get Pete. He's behind Pete. Yeah. I know there's been rumors and so forth. Look, here's the bottom line. He's thoroughly qualified to be Secretary of Defense. He'll bring fresh blood and motivation. He's not 117 years old. You know, he's not part of that draft. And doesn't it amaze you, Sid, that Pete Hegseth, who hasn't spent 1 minute as Secretary of Defense, is taking more incoming than Milley, who was a disgrace, who cost our lives in Afghanistan, who really undermined the commander-in-chief. He's pointed to by these same senators and by Washington as some kind of hero, while Pete Hegseth they're trying to character assassinate and smear him, and I'm sick of it. And so, yes, I'm going to defend Pete. I'm going to fight for Pete. Same with Kash Patel. These are good men, and it is amazing to me that some of the very same senators, political hacks, media that brought us to this position, who opposed the Trump election or who were mild in their support, now they're going to tell us who should be the cabinet secretaries. My view is, whether I like them or not, apart from the two I do like, he should get what he wants.
Yep. Agreed.
This is the team he wants, and This is what he feels he needs to succeed. And if he doesn't like him, he'll fire him.
That's it. He's proven he can do that easily. He's won. He should be able to make those picks. You're right. You mentioned Hegseth and Patel, another one that's getting a lot of criticism. I love her. She was on the show 2 weeks ago. Tulsi Gabbard. Your thoughts on Tulsi?
Well, I don't agree with a lot of her positions, but if Trump wants her, he should get her. And I think that she's changed over time as well. And people have to have the freedom and the room to do that. I mean, Donald Trump changed over time. Ronald Reagan changed over time. Winston Churchill used to be a member of the Labor Party. Then he led the Tory Party. You got to give people a little bit of room to grow, a little bit of room. And I think she has. Time will tell. But there's no reason to defeat her. There's no reason to defeat any of these people other than they don't, meet the requirements of the media and the Democrats and the rhinos. Well, they were just slaughtered in the last election. We get to make the choice. They don't get to make the choice.
All right, I agree with you 100% on that, too. Okay, I want to go back to another topic.
We love each other.
yeah, because we always agree.
We agree with each other more than we agree with our wives. There's something wrong with that.
Oh, that's not. Anyway. By the way, that's not even close. That's not even close. But there was another topic I thought you did an amazing job with this weekend. Not just Pete Hegseth and some of these nominees, but the pardon conversation. If you folks missed it, here it is. Mark Levin from his own show, Lewis Cut Number 8, talking about pardons.
Donald Trump didn't commit any crimes. I don't care what the hell they said in Manhattan. A Soviet-style show trial is not legitimate. That judge isn't legitimate. The prosecution isn't legitimate. The jury isn't legitimate. That was a Potemkin courtroom, a pretend courtroom with a pretend prosecutor, pretend judge, and pretend laws. That's what it was, period. He doesn't need any pardon from Joe Biden, who would use it in order to defend everything he's doing. That's why people in his own party are saying, pardon Donald Trump. It's not because they like pardon Trump, because they're trying to cover for Biden. And by the way, you hear a chorus of these Democrats also telling him, pardon more people, pardon more people, pardon more people.
You got some Republicans saying the same thing. Might not be a bad idea after pardoning his son to pardon Donald Trump. But I think you hit the nail on the head, which is, Mark, the last thing Trump wants is a pardon from Biden.
Right. So, look, we have stupid Republicans. I can't control that. Neither of us can. The fact of the matter is, Trump doesn't need a pardon. We'll see what happens in the New York appellate system. I've encouraged on the air as lawyers to go to the Supreme Court and put an end to this damn thing. Everybody knows, history will tell, and Trump brings up the Dreyfus case. I brought it up myself, that that's exactly what this is, with a few factual differences. But nonetheless, what was done to him was an abomination. And so they'll have to live with it. History will treat him well. The American people already passed judgment and said, this is all BS. He's president of the United States. There's not a damn thing they can do about him, and he doesn't need any help from Biden. Is the perpetrator. Biden unleashed this hell against Trump and against Bannon and against Navarro and against Manafort and against Stone and against the whole team. He unleashed it. Now he's going to come in and be the great savior and say, okay, I'm going to pardon Don. No, stick it. Stick your pardon. We don't need your pardon. Yeah. We don't need your righteousness, such as it is, as he tries to rewrite history. Just as, by the way, to circle back, he's basically claimed he's responsible for Iran's weakness. He's responsible for Syria falling. He's responsible for the defeat of Hezbollah. No, Netanyahu did it despite this jerk. And he's out there taking credit for it. This guy is unbelievable. He
really is. So on the way out, while Trump doesn't need a pardon, they're talking about pardoning a couple of Democrats, and people are trying to figure out, why do they need a pardon? One would be that scumbag from California, Adam Schiff, and the other, just the repulsive Liz Cheney. Now, we know that Cheney may have very well destroyed a whole lot of documents dating back to January 6th, but why Adam Schiff and Liz Cheney? Why do they need pardons?
Now, Adam Schiff is squirrely as hell, and he even said, I don't want a pardon. Because he knows he would look like he's guilty. He also knows that as a member of Congress, he basically had immunity under the speech and debate clause. Now, the problem for Liz Cheney is the destruction of these records. I believe the Justice Department needs to get to the bottom of it. People will say, well, to do what? They have protection under the speech and debate clause. Excuse me. If they destroyed records that would have helped Donald Trump, and a couple of these defendants, by the way, where the cases are not being dropped, quote-unquote, Trump's co-defendants on January 6th, Trump's co-defendants on the document case, they haven't gotten a pass yet, and I hope they're pardoned by Donald Trump. But nonetheless, if the information that was destroyed would have been beneficial to their defense, yes, that could be a crime, and yes, that could be obstruction outside the speech and debate clause. So that needs to be looked at very, very carefully, in my humble opinion. So that's why they might want a pardon. Now, Dizzy Lizzie Cheney is a complete mess. She's utterly unprincipled. You know, it's one thing not to support Trump, but to go out there and endorse Kamala Harris, who is a radical on every issue. I mean, who never voted once for our defense budget or to increase the salaries of any of our men and women in uniform. Not once as a member of the Senate. Her positions on Israel, her positions on the border, and you're actually campaigning to elect her. Liz Cheney is a disgrace, is a complete disgrace. The Cheneys have destroyed themselves. We didn't have to do anything. But if I'm her, I'd probably beg for a pardon, too, because I do think they need to take a look at what the hell she and that committee did.
I'd love to see that. Well, the bad news is this conversation is over. The good news is...
Oh, no.
I know. But the good news is there'll be many, many more. And think about this, Mark, as we get set to celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas, which actually start on the same day this year.
Same day.
Yes. And, of course, usher in 2025. What a great feeling. What a difference, Mark, between heading into the holidays this year with Trump in charge, and it looks like Israel is on their way to a victory. What a difference a year makes, yes?
Oh, my God. Smile, everybody. There'll be enough time to frown. Be happy. You had a good Thanksgiving.
Yes.
We won. We
won.
kicked their ass.
Damn right. We kicked their ass. I love it. I love it. I love you. You're great to hear on WABC 6 to 9 every weeknight. Those two shows on Fox News, an absolute treasure, too. Mark Levin, I love you so much. Happy Hanukkah. Happy New Year. Only the best for you and Julie in the year to come.
I got to come up there next year, and you and I got to get dinner. I love you, too, buddy. You take care of yourself.
You too. I'd love to do that. Steak. We're going to have steak. Me and Levin. We're going to, I'll take him to Peter Luger in Brooklyn. He'll love that. The great one.
Get the heart table ready.
Yes. Yeah, I love this guy, I do. He's smart. But you know what it is with him, too? He's a smart guy, but he's got a huge heart. He has a huge heart. He really does.
He's brilliant.
He is beyond brilliant. I think he's the smartest guy on radio.